Hi, it's Chris Rue here, and I'm really looking forward to helping you become the leader that you want to be. Today I wanted to have a chat with you about how to be a great leader, bearing in mind the role of loss in leadership. I want to explore how times of adversity bring out great leaders, and what do they do that makes them great? Well, a lot of this is about how they deal in the moment and where their attention lies. And in thinking about this, I recalled the story of Howard Lutnick, CEO of Cantor Fitgerald, who lost 2/3 of his staff in the terrorist attack of 9/11. His company occupied the 101st to the 105th floors of One World Trade Center, and on September the 11th, 2001, he lost his brother and 658 of his colleagues. Lutnick survived and vowed to keep the firm alive. In an interview, he said, "So the night of September the 11th, I didn't really know who was alive and who wasn't alive. So we had a conference call. It was about 10 o'clock at night, and my employees called in. And I said, look, we have two choices. We can shut the firm down and go to our friends' funerals. Remember, that would be 20 funerals a day, every day for 35 straight days. And I've got to tell you, I'm not really interested in going to work. All I really want to do is climb under the covers and hug my family. But if we are going to go to work, we're going to do it to take care of our friends' families. So what do you want to do? You guys want to shut it down? Or do you want to work harder than you've ever worked before in your life?" And that was the moment where the company survived. What Howard Lutnick did was create purpose in chaos for people who are dealing with grief himself, and he demonstrated strong leadership and a massive amount of emotional intelligence. So what I realized in thinking about this example of dealing with loss and leadership was that this was also a great example of supporting people through the change curve, which is a great skill for leaders to understand and apply itself. So what is the change curve, you ask? Well, it's also known as the grief cycle, which you may have heard of. And it's that series of emotional events that people are likely to experience when they experience a loss in their lives. Arguably the most famous and commonly considered model is that created by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And I can show you her change curve here. I thought there might be some value in taking you through this model and clarifying with a couple of caveats, not least of which is that loss, and particularly grief, is not a linear process. And you can from time to time experience all aspects of the curve in no particular order. So let's just quickly review the model and then think about its role in leadership as we go along. As you can see, this is a cycle, considering how the state of your morale and competence changes over time. To the left-hand side, you can see that we first experience an event that is a surprise or shock to us, and our first reaction, which you may also recognize, tends towards disbelief. Really? They've cancelled the order? They've changed their mind? The director has decided to leave? And we seek evidence to refute that event. No, that can't be right. They just placed it 2 days ago. He was fine 2 days ago. It must be a mistake. Don't understand what's going on. Anger and frustration can then creep in as we start to recognise and actually experience the change for real. We needed that order. It was crucial for us to keep this part of the business alive. We're going to have a devil of a job replacing him, and he's really left us in the lurch. While we continue on the curve, we can easily cycle back to be cross and angry about what has happened at any point. You may also recognise the next stage, bargaining, that creeps in. If only I'd been so tough on the volumes needed to make that price, maybe they would have kept the order. If only I'd listened to him, maybe taken him so more seriously, perhaps he wouldn't have felt like he was not wanted and wanted to leave. Can't believe what he said about us in leaving. The above can cycle around for time to time and time again, and can potentially lead to yet lower moods and morale, low energy and low motivation, into depression effectively. In some situations we will question our self-worth and get really depressed, not only about the things that have happened, but also about the things that could happen now. This can be a very challenging time, and depending on the event, can go on for months, even years, and still with periodic cycling back to the earlier states. Somewhat oversimplified, but in the above examples you might experience thoughts of, well, we're stuffed. This business is habit. I'm useless as a leader. I mean, it happened on my watch. It's my fault. What an idiot I am. Whoever said I could run a business? I can see why he left. Who would want to work for me? And so on and so on and so on. We're great at kicking ourselves when we're down, which of course perpetuates the emotional negative state. At some point, however, we realise and start to accept the new reality we find ourselves in, the new norm. And here lies the challenge in leadership, to help people reach acceptance of the new reality as quickly and carefully as possible. Because in this state, we are opening up experimentation options, the ideas of trying new ideas that might address the issues presented by the shock event in the first place. This, if a positive corner is being turned, demonstrates how we can move forward despite the recurrence back of bargaining or even depressive moments. But you might recognise, perhaps I could try reapproaching the client with a revised offer. Perhaps we could change our offering to operate in a different way that would allow us to keep trading. Perhaps I can look for a new director who brings some different qualities and capabilities that will help us deliver this new and actually better way of working. But you've got to be in the state of mind to listen and receive that, haven't you? But what you are noticing now is that the mood starts to lift. And notice also that we've made a decision to move on. We've decided internally, okay, let's look for something. This culminates in us seeing and feeling that we are integrating into a brighter future, which we can now see and have a sense of what that experience might be. Hopefully you can see that this cycle applies to a greater or lesser extent in a lot of our interactions as a leader. It is useful on an individual level, clearly, but also at a group level when thinking about giving any news of change to your team or organisation. The people on the receiving end of your news are likely to go through this cycle to a highly variable degree, depending on their individual characters, but nevertheless are likely to benefit from a leader who understands and acknowledges this. So with all this in mind, you can practice this now. You can start applying this now. Perhaps you have a change initiative you're about to apply and you want to communicate this out. Are you allowing time for people to integrate your messages, perhaps? Maybe with their managers and their teams, or are you simply just going to tell them and let them work it out for themselves? Think about where you could use this knowledge to help you achieve the best possible outcome with your people, and think about how you create the space to discuss and engage and get through to these people in the early changes that are actually being experienced by them, and position the new norm, enabling them to experiment in a new way. Ask for feedback, see how they receive it, tell somebody you're doing this. Just look at ways of creating a feedback opportunity to see how this is received. The benefits? Well, you will be being emotionally intelligent in supporting your team, and you will be building loyalty by treating them as adults. You will engage and motivate your team to help to address the issue more quickly, and you will quite possibly find new solutions that you had not even thought of to help in this currently challenging situation. So do let me know how you get on with it. I mean, I'd love to hear how it works for you. And if you found this helpful and would like to learn more leadership tips and techniques, then do click the link below to get to my free leadership training that can be found on chrisrue.com, where I'm sharing a few of my tools and techniques that I've picked up over the years that will enable you to become a more resilient and more effective leader. In the meantime, let me thank you for watching. I wish you luck with your leadership challenges, and thank you for letting me help you become the leader that you want to be. Bye for now.